Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the PFR Report. I'm Brady Rogers here in Atlanta, Indiana today, and I want to talk to you guys a little bit about planters and more importantly, row cleaners. So we started testing row cleaners in 2019. We've always had row cleaners on our planters just because of the benefits, but we wanted to actually take that to yield in 2019. So in 2019, we were actually seeing on average from 3 sites on corn a 4.1 bushel gain, okay? So it doesn't sound like much, but let's talk about why. Where is that gain coming from? So the purpose of this is to clean out a path before your planter row unit's actually going to come through, right? So if we don't clean out that path, what do we have? We have residue. So then we can start having a hairpin effect where we're basically, when that disc opener's coming through, we're pushing that residue right in the trench, and we're putting seed on top of that residue. Okay, so what's that effect? That can take moisture away. So residue really likes to wick away moisture so it can make it dry. It also affects temperature. It also likes to kind of wick away that temperature and make it a little bit colder in that trench, right? So that's going to affect emergence timing, also stand loss. So that's kind of where we're starting to see it. One of the cool things that we saw in Indiana was anywhere that we ran a row cleaner, it basically kind of took away slug damage. So in our no-till, so in an actual study, we were testing control of no row cleaners. So we basically just lifted them up, we weren't running anything. And then we were also doing a floating row cleaner, which we'll talk about in a minute. We were also running 25 pounds downforce to that row cleaner, right? So we're pushing down just a little more just to move a little bit more residue. In the 25 pounds down, we saw 0 slug damage. In the control and the floating, we saw a little bit of slug damage, and then the control, a lot of slug damage, right? So we're also helping with that yield benefit. There's a lot of different types of row cleaners. So a lot of you guys may, if it came standard from the factory, maybe an older planter, you'll have a no-till coulter. So what's that do? That's your rippled coulter right out front that's going to kind of break up the little bit of soil, and it's going to move just a little bit, just enough to kind of move it out of that disc opener. But the benefit that we're seeing from here is we're cleaning it completely out, right? So we're able to basically dig down and throw that residue out of the way instead of just kind of pushing it from side to side. So that's the whole difference there. When we're actually starting to look at row cleaners, there's a lot of options. So you can have a manual one where you set it and that's where it's at, okay? You also have maybe a single shock or a floating one. A single shock is basically where I can tell it I want this much air down force or I want this much up force, okay? A floating one is just whatever the weight of that is, it's just gonna kind of sit there and ride, okay? And behind me today, these are our 2940s row cleaners from Yetter Farm Equipment. So the nice thing about this is it's a dual bag system. So why do we care about a dual bag system? So you're always changing residue when you're going through a field, or maybe switching from one field to the next field, okay? So your residue is going to change, your soil type's going to change. But the nice thing about these is I can add down pressure and up pressure at the same time, okay? So where does that benefit come from? The benefit comes from that is it's going to be able to ride kind of like a car, right? So instead of just forcing one shock on all down pressure, and maybe you hit a rough spot, and then you're digging. You don't want to dig with row cleaners, right? So this one is going to be able to ride kind of like a car, and it can go up and down at the exact same time. Another thing I want to talk about is the different options with row cleaners. Guys, there's so many options out there. So some of you guys that have row cleaners, you may be worried that I'm just throwing this residue from this row over to another row, so you're just fighting yourself, okay? So that can either be an adjustment problem, or it can be your actual blade style, okay? So this is actually the shark tooth from Yetter, which is probably what you're going to see 90% of the time on these, but you can also switch to a tine style, which is going to be just little fingers, and they're going to intertwine up front. So they're going to be a little less aggressive. But I like these because, like I said, I do a lot of conventional till here. I like these because I think they move like clods out of the way a little bit better in conventional till, and they kind of grab and throw a little bit more. But if you're throwing from one side to the other, more than likely, and it's an adjustment problem. Another reason why I really like this 2940 setup from Yetter, okay? So it has what it's called as an air adjust. So you have your air compressor, you have all that just like a normal system would, but I have the ability to set 5 presets in my monitor. So if we think about it, if we have a single shock, if we have row cleaners and just that single shock where we're just either putting down pressure or up pressure or just letting them float, you constantly have to be watching and changing with different ground conditions, okay? The nice thing about this, if I'm planting no-till, I can come up with a preset that I like for my no-till ground and I can leave that, okay? I'm gonna move to my conventional till ground. I'm gonna set another one where it's just basically barely just brushing clods out of the way. I can have a preset for that. You get the idea. Cover crop, any different type of different residue or ground condition, I can have up to 5 presets that I can change on the fly without having to watch this the whole time, okay? So the convenience of being able to change your air pressure from the cab is huge, okay? Some of you guys may have manual ones. Very little of the time will it be right, okay? So you constantly have to be getting out and adjusting that. So spending an extra couple hundreds of dollars, it's worth it to me, okay? So being able to change from the cab, spending more time in your planter instead of making adjustments onto your planter, okay? That's all I have for you guys today. Remember, this is the Yetter 2940 system, okay, with the air adjust. The air adjust is that 5 preset mode I was talking to you guys about, okay? 2019 was our first year running this system, but we loved it. Having the ability to just change one button when you're switching from no-till to conventional till or wheat stubble, what have you, is huge, okay? But there's a lot of systems out there. There's a lot of different options. So if you already have a system and you don't like it, it's probably an adjustment problem, but if not, it's probably an easy fix, okay? So feel free to get a hold of any of your PFR guys with any questions. We're gonna continue to test row cleaners on corn and soybeans in 2020. So keep up to date on our data and we're gonna go from there. That's all I have today. I'm Brady Rogers. Thanks for watching this edition of the PFR Report. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe or comment below using the hashtag AskPFR. Thanks and have a great day.